You know, it shouldn't be me having to explain this to you, that looting is bad because stealing is bad, but you're in luck because that is not what I'm going to do. But I will say that looting is bad because it disproportionately affects the people not who are stolen from, but the people who actually have to buy the merchandise that is being routinely stolen. It affects them because when stores audit what has been sold and what is still on their shelves, they have to raise prices to account for the merchandise they previously bought but never made anything on due to it having been stolen. Theft of necessity goods is often portrayed as a social good for the people who are the most downtrodden in our society, for the people who are at the bottom of the economic ladder. I believe that to be precisely the opposite of what's going on. I believe that good people who are at the bottom of the economic ladder are being siphoned out of or away from basic services, basic necessities, due to them having the cost raised so heavily. And so the less that we punish these crimes, the more we incentivize them. And also at the same time, the less social assistance we provide to people to actually attain these goods, the more we incentivize the crime. But in that scenario, where the crime is taking place, where it's rampant as it is in many US cities today, and some of them they don't even report their numbers anymore because the looting happens so often that they don't report the numbers to the local police departments, and as a result, the statistics on the issue become unreliable. But we know that it's happening often, and we know that not just from the surveillance footage and the videos that individuals take of the events occurring, but because of the giant flea markets where all of this merchandise that is most commonly reported stolen is being sold out in the open in flea markets at costs lower than what the stores had to pay for them when they bought them in bulk. That per item it costs less than what they paid per item in these flea markets. And so there's clearly an epidemic of rampant theft. Is it exaggerated to some extent by the media? To a major extent even. Absolutely. But it is occurring nonetheless. And I do believe that this issue is at times used as an excuse for grocery stores to raise their prices massively, which is why we should have a windfall profits tax. If there were a tax on profits above a certain threshold, you would disincentivize companies from raising their prices to such an absurd degree that most people can't afford them, which is what we're seeing right now. However, at the same time, that policy must be coupled with social assistance that actually gets these things in people's hands. We have a system that's like that. It's called food stamps, and it works. Food stamps reduces child poverty, general poverty, and it absolutely reduces hunger. The program works. It should be expanded. Perhaps there could be a second program that focuses on necessity goods such as toothbrushes, detergent, and so on. Perhaps there could be rebates for fuel, or ideally, in the kind of society that I would like to live in, a tax on the usage of vehicles that could then go to public transportation options that are faster and more convenient. That's getting utopian. That's out of the realm of practicality as of now. But a windfall profits tax could be implemented tomorrow, and it would lower inflation. Raising the penalties for theft of goods could be done tomorrow, and it would disincentivize people from taking the merchandise. All of these policies would materially help the people, but they must, this is an essential component, they must be paired with assistance to people on those basic goods that are often being stolen and resold. If all of this were to be paired together, the looting would stop. But the core fact behind all this that I'm talking about, is that looting is wrong. Not because it hurts the big man and his board of shareholders who have far too much money to begin with and should be taxed exorbitantly in my ideal world, but because for every store that's looted, there's going to be a price that's raised. The more it happens, the more that price is going to go up. And the more regular people who want to do the fine, honest thing are going to have to pay for the merchandise that's been stolen by those other people. And eventually, those other people who are stealing the merchandise are going to be cast off as well. Because a lot of that is going to be locked behind bulletproof glass, as it is in many stores around the country today. I don't know if all of it is necessarily bulletproof, but it is locked behind something nonetheless. And so groups of 10 and 12 people, as we see in these videos from all over the country, coming in, ransacking the place, taking everything and running off, can't do so as easily behind the locked doors. And so even those people are being affected by their own actions because of the losses in profit. But the losses in profit, those losses in profit, are going to lead to the burden being bared by the most economically disadvantaged people in society, which are the people who struggle to buy those things in the first place. So theft of goods is not justice. It's not moral. It's not socially equitable. And it's not getting back at the man. The only man that you're getting back at is your fellow man who's struggling to pay for these things themselves. And that's not to say anything of the poor minimum wage workers who actually work at a lot of these places, some of whom get fired due to the actions of other people who come into their store and take the merchandise. The lack of empathy, the lack of regard for those employees and for our fellow citizens, many of whom are at the bottom of the economic ladder, who must pay for these necessity goods and as a result are disproportionately affected by the cost of those goods, those people are the ones paying for the theft. It's not the big man. So stop presenting it like it's this just, heroic, or socially equitable action, because it is not. It's an action that's screwing us all over, all of us regular folk, especially those of us who want to do the right thing. But those of you who want to do the wrong thing, you're getting fucked over too.